Hello, today I am doing the Christmas colors tag. This is a pretty simple tag. It's one of the ones where you basically just name books, and I thought I'd do it to be festive around Christmas time. This tag was originally created by BookBuds, and I was tagged by Stuart Griffin, who recently did this tag. So the prompts are very simple, and most of them just have to do with what the cover looks like. So you don't even have to read books to do this tag. The first prompt is a book with a red cover. I was trying to find covers that were primarily red, with just about as much red as I could find, rather than having just some red on them. And for this one, I chose Iggy's House by Judy Blume. This edition is mostly red, as you can see, and it's red on the back too. Judy Blume is one of my favorite authors, so I'm happy to mention her in this video. And Iggy's House isn't really one of her most popular books. It was her second book, but her first novel. Her first book was like an illustrated children's chapter book, very small. And then this is her second. This one deals with a young white girl, and there's a black family that moves into town, and this was published in the early 70s, so this deals with racism. This was one of the books that helped me get back into reading when I was 14. Like, I read a lot and then didn't for a little while. Then when I was 14, I was getting back into reading. I went to the library and checked out 4 books, and this was one of them that helped me get back into reading, because I'd already read many of Judy Blume's books and I wanted to read more, and my library had this one, although it was an older edition. But I actually quite like these covers of her books. They're very simple and minimalistic, which I usually don't really like minimalism, but in this case I like them. Maybe it's just the nostalgia at this point, because I was reading from some of these editions in 5th grade, but I personally like them and I think the colors look nice. I don't remember much from this book. It has been some years since I've read it. I don't remember absolutely loving this one as much as some of her other books, but it was probably still good. It helped me get back into reading, so that's what counts. Second prompt is a book with a green cover. For this one, I am saying my copy of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is a book I'm sure everyone will be familiar with, and this is my edition of it. I did read it for the first time in 5th grade, and I read from a different edition. I think that one didn't have illustrations, but this one does have illustrations. I'm not sure if they're the original illustrations. I think they might be, but it has like some illustrations throughout the pages, and then some that are like this one where a whole page is dedicated to them. That's a pretty nice edition. So when I read it for a second time a few years later, this is the edition I got. I think the illustrations are a really nice touch. The third prompt is a book with a gold cover or some gold accents. For this one, I'm going to be saying one of the Dork Diaries books by Rachel Renee Russell. That one is Tales from a Not-So-Glam TV Star. That is book, I don't know, maybe 7? I didn't write that down, but it's one of the books in the series. And that one, I would say, is gold. It was kind of hard to find a book for this one because there were many yellow, but I was like, well, which one is gold? But then once I saw that when I was looking through my Goodreads list, I was like, yeah, that's definitely gold. I haven't read this one yet. Dork Diaries was very popular for my generation, kind of like the female version of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I wouldn't say they were as popular as those, but still pretty popular. And I currently do have the rest of the books on my TBR. I know I read the 6th one all the way through when I was in 4th grade, when that was the new one. It had recently come out. And I know a few years ago I checked out the first one from the library. I probably read some of it before, but not all of it as a kid. I don't know if I will want to read the whole series. It's been a little while. I don't know if I'd still like it, so at some point I will check out the second book and then see how I feel about that, and then decide from there if I want to read the rest. Like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I still like even now, but some book series you can just grow out of or not really be interested in anymore. I don't mind at all that I'm no longer the target audience. I think I'll like the middle school diary format thing. At least I know I enjoyed those books when I was in elementary school. So we'll just have to see. It'll probably be a while before I read any of those books again, but they're currently still on my TBR. Sometimes I think about removing them, and I'm like, no, I'll still give them a chance, and maybe I'll end up liking them. They could be fun, more light reads, which I think are always nice to have. I definitely read a lot of more wholesome reads sometimes, especially like children's books. It'd be nice to read something lighter. Prompt number 4 is a book that sparkles. So I could pretty much just say the previous book for this one too, but I wanted to have a different book for each prompt. So for this one, I'm going to say perhaps not a traditional answer, because on seeing other people do this tag, I found that maybe they would show, like, I'll show you what I mean, but like a thing on the cover that, I don't know if sparkles is the right word, but I wanted to mention Written Stone Lane by A.J. Hartley. I thought about using this as the red book, but I think Iggy's House is even more red than this. As you can see, there's like a clawed hand. If you move in the light, you can see, I don't know if that counts as sparkling, but that's the kind of thing I saw in another video, so I thought I would say this for that because I know that this book does that. And that's pretty cool looking. That's a cool detail of the cover. This is a sequel to Cold Bath Street, which I read last year, and this cover doesn't have anything cool like that, but it's still a nice cover. I enjoyed this book. I do hope to get to this book in 2026. Prompt number 5 is a book with snow or a snowman on the cover. For this one, I'm going to use quite a literal example, and that is The Snowman by Jo Nesbo. This was a book I recently heard about from Renee at Beyond Books, where she talked about it. I think it was a book that she planned on reading soon, and it sounded interesting. I think it involves like a serial killer who leaves behind snowmen at his victims' houses, so sounds intense. I think the mystery aspect of that would be interesting. I'm not sure if it's more of a mystery or thriller exactly, but I'd never heard of it before. My library has it, so I think I will try to read that next year around Christmas time for a seasonal read, because I actually don't have a lot of those on my TBR, so that would be nice. And I do really like snow and snowmen, so I think I will try to read that one. Question 6, a book with a pine tree on the cover. For this one, I'm doing a somewhat unique answer. I'm going to say book 1 in the Christmas Cookie Chronicles by Lori Wilde. The book is called Carrie, and this book has a cookie on the cover that looks like a Christmas tree, which is basically a pine tree. So I thought that'd be a fun little festive Christmassy answer. This was a book I read last year. It was like an adult romance. I don't know if it'd even be considered a novel. It might have been more of a novella. I don't know if it'd be considered a short story. I'm going to say a novella. It was pretty short. I read it as an ebook, and I think it was like 100 pages or less. The cover intrigued me, and I decided to read it. I didn't love this book. It was a little interesting, but not really my thing. Some people who are into little holiday romances might like it, but I didn't think it was as good, and I personally don't plan on reading any of the other books in the series, but I think the author is pretty popular, so maybe you've heard of her. Prompt number 7 is a book with a star on the cover. For this one, I'm going to be mentioning another of my favorite authors, Wendy Mass. I'm going to be saying her book, Every Soul a Star, which has a star in the title and on the cover. This was a book that I tried reading a few years ago, I think when I was in 9th grade. I had read some of her other books already. As I mentioned, Iggy's House was one of the books that helped me get back into reading, while 2 of Wendy Mass's books were also part of those 4 library books I checked out. And that was the first time I really read any of her books in full. Like in elementary school before I tried reading them, didn't finish them. And then a few years later I was more ready to do that. So Every Solo Star, I don't remember much about. I think it had like 3 different perspectives. I do think though if I tried to read it nowadays, I'd probably have a higher chance of getting through it. I'll still DNF it if I want. I think I'm less likely to if it's by an author I like, but I think I have a lot more patience with reading nowadays, so I think I'm more likely to get through it like I did with The Hunger Games, in case you've heard that story, which is possible because I've said it a few times on the channel. Maybe when I read this book again, I'll also learn some things about astronomy. That could be interesting. I'm a little interested in that. So that is a book that I hope to give another chance someday. I'm trying to think of how far into it I got before. I don't think it was even halfway. So yeah, not very much. I don't remember it very well. So that'll be nice to go back to someday. Prompt number 8 is a bonus question, and it says a Christmas book. For this, I am going to say a book I read recently. This I know for sure was a novella, and that is This Winter by Alice Oseman, which is basically part of the Heartstopper/Solitaire universe. I still haven't read Solitaire, but I definitely want it to be one of the first books I read in 2026, so I'm very excited for that. And this basically takes place, I think, like during the events of the 4th Heartstopper graphic novel. I read all the books. I mean, there's a 6th one coming out next year, but I read all the Heartstopper books earlier this year, and I really liked them. And I definitely want to read more by this author. This Winter was the first book of hers that was written in prose rather than being a graphic novel, and I thought it was a nice, short little holiday story about family. It was very honest, as the Heartstopper series deals with some themes of mental health and eating disorders and things like that. And so I think that it had some good information, even being in such a small book, and I personally enjoyed it. Then prompt number 9 is tag some people who spread holiday cheer. And as usual, just whoever sees this and wants to do it. I think that this tag might be new, and so it might be getting spread around a lot, so I expect to see a lot of people doing it around this time. That was the Christmas colors tag. Thank you for watching.